The distribution of goods and raw materials across Canada is being interrupted as thousands of CP Rail employees go on work stoppage and hit the picket line. Over the weekend, around 3,000 conductors, engineers, and train yard workers started to picket over wage disputes, pension issues, and working conditions. In Manitoba, picketing continued Monday outside CP Railway offices on Keewatin Street.
We're just looking for a fair contract to be negotiated between the railway and our union. And, we don't want to be out here. We want to go to work.
The Teamsters Canada Rail Conference Negotiation Committee says CP Rail initiated the lockout during labor disputes and as a result has put the Canadian supply chain and tens of thousands of jobs at risk. However, CP says the work stoppage was started by the TCRC, not the railway company.
I've already had companies that have told me, even before the strike started, but they were already being told, your product, your paper, your raw materials are not going to be able to get to your place, and companies have already started shutting down parts of their operation.
Ron Kozlowski, Manitoba Vice President of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, says regardless of who is responsible for the work stoppage, the bottom line is supply chain issues are already occurring, and that means increased costs for producers and consumers.
And we've only started, so this will affect the ports, this will affect the ability to get goods to our customers, and our reputation again is going to be suffering as a result of being an uncertain supplier in the global environment.
Farmers are also worried about prolonged supply chain disruptions if the rail line dispute continues. The Canadian Cattlemen's Association, Grain Growers of Canada, and other key stakeholders who rely on rail lines to import and export food supply voiced their concerns in Ottawa Monday. They worry about the potentially serious impact to local and global food supply.
Although trains have been running this past number of weeks, we have not been able to build a stockpile of feed, and currently we only have a 1 to 2 week buffer of feed in the system before we won't have any feed for our cattle.
The bottom line is that our members rely on this critical infrastructure to get our product to customers across Canada and around the world. Therefore, we are calling on the federal government to use any tool at its disposal to bring this disruption to an end.
Agricultural stakeholders are urging the government to step in if the union and CP can't come to a resolution quickly. Meanwhile, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says he and his party are firmly against any type of back-to-work legislation.
What happens is then employers don't have any interest in negotiating with workers. It makes for worse work conditions, and it makes for an undermining of the workers' ability to negotiate fair wages and fair work conditions.
As for Seidler, he says those on the picket line are not trying to cost Canadians more or disrupt their way of life. But at this point, picketing is the only real bargaining chip as unionized employees they have left.
We're not trying to create a problem. We're trying to stand up for our rights here.
City News reached out to CP Rail for an interview. They say they do not have any updates, but remain at the table with federal mediators. In Winnipeg, Mark Neufeld, City News.